Beaches have always terrified me. Well, not always. My fear is a direct result of what I'm about to tell you. As a kid, I used to love the shore. I remember spending many summers in eager anticipation of the weekend, when my family and I would hang out at our beach house. Or, if I was lucky, I'd spend it at my friend Charles's beach house, which was even more fun. I was 16, and this was one of those special summer weekends. Me, Charles, and our friend Riley were going to spend a few unsupervised days at Charles's beach house in LBI. Riley was a year older and had just gotten his license, so he'd be driving us down. The drive was fantastic. Riley was a pretty uncoordinated driver at the time, so most of the ride was spent laughing at him swerving and cursing at the road. We got down to LBI in good time and immediately moved our stuff into the rooms we'd be staying in. The layout of the house is important, so I'll explain it briefly. A front door, a garage door connecting the back to the front yard, a sliding back door, a back upstairs deck connecting the bedrooms, and a spiral staircase leading from the deck to the ground. The house sat along a lagoon, meaning the back faced a narrow water channel, with houses on the opposite side. We were at that ripe age where chasing girls was a priority, and a beach house all to ourselves was perfection. We spent a few hours figuring out which girls were down the shore, messaging them on Snapchat. Eventually, we found 3 girls, Rosie, Alexa, and Sophie, who said they'd come hang out. I had more than enough weed to last the weekend, and we'd snagged a few bottles of our parents' alcohol. Everything was lining up perfectly. The girls showed up. Fun, flirty, and we all knew where the night was probably going. At one point, the 6 of us decided to smoke in Charles's backyard pool. Small, but perfect for 6 drunk kids. I remember the scene vividly. The gentle bay breeze, the steam rising from the heated water, puffs of smoke drifting upward. Pure bliss. But then, suddenly, Charles turned the music all the way down and stared over my shoulder into the darkness of the lagoon. Confused, I turned. I could faintly make out the houses across the water, but nothing unusual. One of the girls asked him why he turned the music down. Charles whispered, "I saw someone standing on the dock across the lagoon." I laughed, thinking he was messing with us. "Who cares, dude? People live there." But Charles shook his head. "I know that family. They're in Florida this week." The girls got freaked out and wanted to go inside, so we started climbing out of the pool. As we were drying off, Riley suddenly jumped and cursed, staring toward the lagoon. We all turned. Even in the dim light, there was definitely movement on the opposite dock. We froze. A passing car on the road behind the houses briefly lit the scene, and what we saw was horrifying. 4 tall silhouettes, standing at the edge of the dock, facing us. "Go inside, now," Charles said, voice shaking. We rushed toward the sliding door, and then 4 consecutive splashes. They were swimming across the lagoon. Panic, screaming. Riley slammed the sliding door shut. Charles bolted to the front to lock it. We hid in the only room not visible from outside and waited in silence. Minutes passed. Then Riley cursed. He'd forgotten to lock the sliding door on the upstairs deck. Before we could react, we heard soft footsteps above us. That was it. None of us had weapons. We were intoxicated. Running was the only option. We sprinted to the car. Riley tore out of the driveway, smashing Charles's mailbox on the way. Once we were far enough away, we called the police. When we returned with them, the news was crushing. Everything valuable upstairs was gone. And worse, Charles's family boat, a medium Boston whaler, was missing. The thieves had likely used it as their getaway. The spare keys had been hidden under a small hatch below the steering wheel. Somehow, they knew exactly where to look. The police never found the culprits. Since then, I haven't let a single day go by without locking every door and window in my home. Do yourself a favor and lock your doors at night. Now let's move on to updating this story. Okay, so I never thought I'd revisit this story, but I actually do have an update. It isn't exactly my story, but I'll do my best to tell it. Quick recap of the original. When I was 16, we saw people across the lagoon watching us. They swam toward us, broke in, robbed the place, and stole the family boat. It was never found. Charles and I fell out of touch, so I never heard anything new. But recently, at a high school reunion, Charles pulled me aside and said he needed to tell me something. We grabbed drinks after the reunion, and when the beach house story came up, he slapped the table like he had just remembered something huge. His little brother Kieran, now 19 and apparently a huge troublemaker, had taken the family's new boat out last year without permission. He and 2 friends anchored near Coral Island, a restricted wildlife refuge area, planning to get drunk and stargaze. While on shore, one of the friends noticed another boat anchored further down. Kieran looked closer and became convinced it was their stolen Boston whaler. Despite the distance, despite the darkness, he was sure. He convinced his friends to swim out to it. When they reached it, he was 100% certain it was the missing boat. They wanted to take pictures, but had left their phones on the boat they came in. And by the time they swam back, it would be too dark to photograph anything. One friend suggested calling the police, but underage drinking, stolen boat joyride, being somewhere they weren't supposed to be, calling the cops was the last thing they wanted. They planned to move their boat closer for pictures instead. As they were walking back along the beach, one friend turned around. A man was walking toward them, fast, then faster, and he was holding a shovel. The boys ran. He ran after them. They reached their boat just in time. The man turned and sprinted back toward his own boat, which was closer. They had to follow nighttime boating regulations, meaning they couldn't speed away. They couldn't even go check the other boat. Kieran later said he swore he heard another boat moving in the darkness behind them. Back home, guilt ate him alive. He confessed everything to his parents, except the drinking. His parents were furious. They reported what he saw, but nothing came of it, just like before. I asked Charles all the questions running through my mind. How could the stolen boat still be around LBI without anyone noticing? Why anchor so close to shore? What was the guy with the shovel doing? Charles didn't have answers, just guesses. And that's pretty much it. No closure. Just more questions. And another door opened to a mystery that will probably stay unresolved. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell. Support us by liking